The cold wasn't the cruelest thing in Glacia. The king was, and when a starving village knelt in the snow, a young guard had seconds to decide: serve the throne or save the innocent. What he did next would put him in chains and change the kingdom forever. Welcome to the frozen kingdom of Glacia, where winter never ends and the cold wind whispers secrets of the past ages. On the high throne sat King Frederick, a ruler whose heart was as cold and unyielding as the ice surrounding his castle. The people suffered greatly under his iron fist, struggling to survive the harsh elements while paying heavy taxes to the crown. Among the royal guard stood Adam, a young orphan who had risen through the ranks with silent determination and hidden kindness. One day, the king summoned Adam and handed him a list of debts, ordering him to collect money from a remote village. Adam rode his horse through the biting storm, traveling far from the capital to fulfill the cruel command of his master. He arrived at the destination to find a village that was barely standing, with homes that offered little protection from the cold. The villagers looked at the royal guard with terror, knowing they had nothing left to give but their lives and hope. An elder stepped forward and knelt in the snow, offering a few copper coins that represented their entire winter food supply. Adam held the meager offering in his hand, his heart heavy as he looked into the desperate eyes of the starving people. Memories flooded his mind, reminding him of his own days as a lonely orphan, shivering in the cold, without a home. He realized he could not be the instrument of their destruction, and a fire of rebellion ignited within his noble soul. Stepping down from his horse, Adam walked towards the village fire, while the confused crowd watched his every move in silence. With a steady hand, he threw the list of debts into the roaring flames, watching the king's orders turn into ash. Gasps of disbelief turned into tears of joy as the villagers realized they had been saved from ruin by this stranger. Adam smiled at their relief, but deep inside, he knew that his act of mercy would likely cost him his life. He turned his horse back toward the capital, riding into the gathering storm to face the wrath of the cruel King Frederick. Back at the castle, the king flew into a rage when he heard that his guard had returned without the gold. Adam knelt before the throne and confessed his crime, refusing to apologize for saving the lives of the innocent villagers. The furious king ordered his guards to seize Adam immediately, and heavy iron chains were wrapped around his wrists and ankles. He was thrown into the deepest dungeon, left to rot in the cold darkness as punishment for his defiance of the crown. While the kingdom slept, a shadow army from the neighboring lands quietly surrounded the castle, preparing for a surprise invasion. Suddenly, the alarm horns shattered the silence of the night, and the castle awoke to the terrifying sounds of war. The massive gates were breached, and the enemy forces poured into the courtyard, overwhelming the royal guards with sheer numbers. King Frederick fought bravely to defend his throne, but he was soon cornered by the invaders, with no hope of escape. Down in the dungeon, Adam heard the screams and clashes of steel, struggling uselessly against his chains to join the fight. Fate intervened when a stray cannonball struck the prison wall, crumbling the stone and creating a narrow path to freedom. Adam scrambled out of the rubble, grabbed a fallen sword, and rushed toward the throne room to save his king. He burst into the hall and stood before the king, fighting off the attackers with the skill and fury of a tiger. Despite their combined strength, they were outnumbered, and the circle of enemies tightened around them, ready to deliver the final blow. Just as all hope seemed lost, a thunderous roar echoed from the castle gates, causing the enemy soldiers to pause. Through the broken gates poured hundreds of villagers, armed only with farming tools, but driven by a fierce and loyal spirit. Leading the charge was the old elder, rallying his people to fight for the kingdom and for the young guard who saved them. The invaders were caught off guard by the sheer ferocity of the peasants, and their organized lines began to break and scatter. Seeing the people he had spared now fighting for him, Adam felt a surge of strength and rallied the king to fight. King Frederick watched in disbelief as the very people he had oppressed risked their lives to save his castle and his throne. United by a common cause, the guards and the villagers fought as one, slowly driving the invading army out of the castle. With a final strike, Adam defeated the enemy commander, and the remaining invaders fled into the night, defeated by the people. As the sun rose over the blood-stained snow, a heavy silence fell over the castle, broken only by the panting of survivors. The king walked slowly among the wounded villagers, seeing their pain and sacrifice with eyes that were finally open to the truth. He stopped before Adam and the village elder, bowing his head in shame to ask for their forgiveness for his cruelty. The old man smiled kindly and helped the king to rise, proving that mercy and forgiveness are stronger than hatred and fear. That very day, King Frederick issued a royal decree canceling all debts and lowering taxes for every village in the kingdom. Adam was honored as the hero of the realm and appointed as the king's chief advisor, standing proudly by his side. Wagons loaded with food and warm clothes were sent to the farthest corners of Glacia, ensuring no one would go hungry. The kingdom began to change, and it seemed as if the warmth of the king's new heart was melting the eternal winter. Laughter returned to the streets, and children played freely in the squares where they once hid in fear of the guards. Frederick was no longer the tyrant on the ice throne, but a beloved leader who worked alongside his people every day. Adam often visited the old village elder, and together they watched the sunset over a land that was finally at peace. The fire that Adam lit that night did not just burn paper, it ignited a flame of hope that warmed the entire nation. This story teaches us that true power does not come from fear or force, but from the simple act of caring. Adam continued to teach the next generation that a true warrior uses their strength to protect the weak, never to oppress. The bond between the king and his loyal guard became a legend, a testament to how one good deed can change everything. Every year the kingdom held a festival of lights to celebrate the day the darkness was defeated by unity and love. Hunger and poverty became things of the past, replaced by a community where everyone looked out for their neighbors and friends. Adam knew his parents would be proud of the man he had become and the beautiful world he helped to build. The icy kingdom of Glacia was now known as the Kingdom of Warmth, a beacon of hope for all the world. Remember that no matter how cold the world may seem, a single spark of kindness is enough to start a fire. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey of redemption, courage, and the enduring power of the human spirit. This has been Wise Soul Tales. Please like and subscribe to our channel for more stories that touch the heart and soul.